Alrighty, welcome to Men's Hub's first interview / podcast. I'm sitting here with a guy, Stone James, and you guys may have heard of him and know him as the Stone Thrower. I got the privilege of meeting this guy a little while back, and look, just absolutely loved his energy, loved what he's doing, have been really inspired by this guy, so I had to sit down and have a chat with him. So, Stone.
Kia ora, brother.
Kia ora.
Thank you.
Good to meet you, man. Again. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you and why the Stone Thrower?
Cheers, brother. Kia ora. Thanks for having me. Piripi, appreciate this opportunity. I grew up here in the beautiful Taranaki. Maybe you're about to see it in one of these camera shots. We're just sitting here on the west coast, and I've been privileged to grow up under the protection of Taranaki Maunga. My parents met here and decided to settle here. I'm one of 3 sons. I'm the middle child, and yeah, I've been on a big journey to get to become the Stone Thrower. Stone Thrower Health and Fitness is the name of my business, and it's a part of myself that I rediscovered about myself, about looking into myself. What are my habits? What do I stand for? What am I here to do? And that all really started with getting sober, putting down the bottle, putting down the drugs, putting down the porn, and looking into myself and thinking, like, there's got to be more to life than just wasting my time on drinking, wasting my time spending time with people that didn't really care about me, and spending time just doing things that didn't give me any energy. I just felt so depressed, so anxious, so burnt out. So once I put down the bottle, I started actually doing cold plunges out here in the surf, surfing in my board shorts, and that really made me question, why was I doing that? Because I wanted, like, I'd heard all this stuff about the cold water therapy, but I wanted to know, could it make a fucking difference for me? Actually, and it did. It did. That's when I started to, that's when the name Stone Thrower came to me, because I started doing all the surfing, and these guys in the community here, they took their own lives, and they were really good surfers, and I thought, why wasn't it enough? Why wasn't the surfing enough? Like, surfing makes us feel amazing. If you're any surfers out there, like, only a surfer knows the feeling. That's the catchphrase. But I was thinking, why would these guys take their lives if they had that ocean relationship, they had that exhilarating sport? What was it that they weren't doing to stabilise their mental health? And that's when I started spending more time at the beach, working out. Like, when the surf wasn't very good, I'd still go to the beach, and I thought, oh well, I'm just going to do a workout. I'm going to jump in the ocean, I'm going to throw some rocks around, I'm going to throw some stones around, and lift some driftwood. And that just got me so pumped, that commitment. And then the physical exercise started becoming way more important than the surfing. That really started to make me feel like I was alive. And then the cold water thing really just made me feel present, to be present with myself.
That's awesome. So so I read a bit of your story, and quite a story. And people say, oh look, once he's like that, that's what he's always like, he's never going to change. You hear that all the time. Is it possible to change?
Man, I'm changing all the time. Like, I love what you've brought that up, because people will see my page, my social media presence. That's one aspect of myself. It's very difficult to portray everything I do. I go through struggles, I go through down periods, I go through periods where I eat like crap. That's happening for everyone, but what I strive to do is to implement daily habits that start to become normal of who I am. But anyone can change. I've seen guys give up the bottle and then go back to it 10 times as hard. I've seen people give up the bottle, give up the meth, and then never go back. So it's about creating an internal compass of what are our values. And for me, strong, sober, secure. That's what I hold on to, man. Like 3 simple. I'm a simple guy, and I need simple values to hold on to. So strong, sober, secure. Strong in the body. Like, I can lift myself up, do a chin up. I can do a good set of press ups. Strong in the mind. I understand who I am. And when other people's triggers or opinions are exposed around me, I understand what mine are. I'm open to new information, but I'm not going to let myself be easily swayed, and strong in spirit, like having a faith, having a belief. That's a huge part of life for me, bro. So people can change, like anyone can change, and it starts with one simple habit. Whether that's drinking more water every day, or it's going for a walk, or writing yourself a love letter. You know, like something like that. You know, like giving yourself permission. The one thing that I use often for myself is I do a lot of journaling and a lot of writing, because I understand this mind can go haywire at any moment. If I have a lack of sleep, if one of my kids annoys me or something doesn't go my way, I understand myself. I can have a trigger, like just like that. Just because I've done all this work and all these tools and I'm sober, I'm still a human being. But it comes down to how do we respond to that moment? You know, how do we respond? And that is going to be determined by the way we live our life. By how are we waking up each day? How are we speaking to ourselves? So circling back to that permission slip, a real powerful way is to give yourself a permission slip, like literally write a permission slip. Like I still write this at different times. I, Stone James, give myself permission to live sober, and I sign it. And it's a real powerful, simple tool to empower yourself, because in this modern world, we've grown up and our decision making has often been led by a carrot. Like it's like, you know, if you do this, you will get that. And it's always and often it's been determined by an outside force, like a school, a business, an office, a job, a partner. So coming back to that self, what do we actually give ourselves permission to do? And that's a way to tap into the subconscious. When you give yourself permission, it's the start of a process to release all these limitations that I'm not good enough. I can't do this podcast. It's like, I give myself permission to start a podcast, signed.
Boom. Into it. That's awesome. Actually, it's interesting you talk about the subconscious, because I've been looking a lot into that and found out that 95% of our day is determined by our subconscious thoughts. So therefore, you know, and they say the first 5 years of our life kind of determine how our subconscious rules our life. So when you talk about cold water, I actually did this exercise where I'd get in the shower in the morning and I'd have my shower and it'd be all good, and then I'd speak to my subconscious mind and I'd say, right, I'm going to turn the cold water on. This is going to be good for you. And then whip it over and you'd spend 20 seconds under the cold water, and the difference it made to my day was incredible, because it sort of made me aware of my subconscious. It made me aware of what was going on behind the scenes in my mind, and how that was determining, I guess, my triggers, how I was viewing the day, how I was reacting or responding to people. So when you talk about the cold water, it really is a good little trick to get that subconscious under control, eh? So
I love that, bro. Like speaking to yourself, priming yourself for the experience. You know, and that taps into that permission slip, and you're doing that in an audio way. You know, talking to yourself, preparing your subconscious, because it's always listening. Be careful how you speak to yourself, because he's always listening.
That's very true.
So that's a great tool, man. I love that, preparing yourself through it, and that taps into visualization and what you say. Like Rudolf Steiner talks about the first 7 years, first 5 years, 7 years, that programming is there. And that's why so many of us, when we come to get sober or get clean or make a choice or go celibate, I don't know, whatever it is, we're often up against that programming, and we don't actually realise what it is. Like it's so deep. A little 5-year-old boy, a 4-year-old boy is getting all this information, and it's downloaded behind the scenes, behind the curtain. So when we step into these new ways of knowing, being and doing, it feels so foreign. That feeling, I've had that personally, that feeling of being not good enough, not worthy, because it's outside of who we were programmed to be. And that's nobody's fault. That was the people that were caring for us, hopefully caring for us, doing their best. You know, in most circumstances, they are doing their best. There's obviously cases where people are doing their worst knowingly, but you know, it's about reprogramming that inner child letting that inner child know it's safe. And man, that's a lifetime of work, eh?
Yeah, man, it sure is. Yeah, well, I'm 54 and I'm still working on it. You know, so so you work with men with health, fitness, mental health, all that kind of stuff. Do you find there's common things that men are struggling with?
Yes. Yep. Pornography. Pornography is one of the biggest ones that are almost all men that I work with. The majority of them have some sort of porn habit, and a lot of them are using, they're like, oh well, I'm watching romantic porn, so it's different. And I would still debate that. I disagree with that. Any form of pornography is a distraction from masculinity, because it's a form of external validation. When we look at something for gratification, it's pulling us outside of ourselves. So pornography is definitely a massive one, man, and it's really, I found in my circles that I used to hang around with, that it was like it was normal. Like everyone's thinking it's normal, and images and videos were being shared of things in all these groups, and it's really destructive to the mind, because like you talked about the subconscious, it's like our mind remembers it, like not just our mind that we're aware of, but our mind behind the scenes, behind the curtain, that subconscious remembers every image you've looked at, every video you've watched, and it starts to program your thinking. So a big thing for me, to be honest and vulnerable about it, I would be going around like mentally fantasizing about sexual interactions, and I realized it was because I was continually watching porn, and it was programming my mind to do that. So once I actually stopped watching it, I could step back, because a great quote that I love by Michael A. Singer from The Untethered Soul is, if you want to know why you do something, stop doing it. And see what happens. If you want to know why you do something, stop doing it and see what happens. Because all your compulsions, they come to the surface. Your desire to be wanted, to be loved, because a lot of men out there, they want love, they want affection, and it's fuck, man, we're all trying to work out how to get that in a healthy way from women. And the easiest way to do that, it's very unhealthy, is to go to that digital world, and all of a sudden you're the man, you're the king, you've got all this BS praise, and it's all fake. It's all fake, because it's all driven by money, profit, and the desire for those women to make careers, get money. So and then that's draining your energy. So once I stopped doing that, it really woke me up to the fact of how much I was sexualizing the world and other people around me. And women pick up on that energy. Like women really do pick up on that energy. That what's the word? I'm not sure of the way to put it. It's like I want to say predatory, but it's probably not the right word. Like, men have a desire to procreate. Pornography amplifies that in an extremely unhealthy way. And a lot of men don't want to admit that, because it's their secret little habit of intimacy. It's their time to their self. They deserve it. I've worked hard and I can get it for free. But there's nothing more expensive than free. Because what we give our time to, that signals our brain, that's what we value. So that's a huge one, pornography. The other one is drinking, obviously. Like you know, Kiwi culture is just rife with alcoholism and using it to celebrate births, deaths, new jobs, old jobs. You know, Monday night, Thursday morning, Saturday evening, you know, like it just gets out of hand. I mean, I remember really thinking, man, this is getting out of hand when I was cancelling work. Like I was a school teacher, and I was taking sick days because I was hungover. It was like getting out of control, you know, and I didn't want to admit it. You know, and there was many people in all professions, not just teaching, doctors, nurses. I've seen the most intelligent professors, people with doctorate degrees, crumble down to just caveman, disgusting behaviour. It doesn't matter who you are, alcohol attacks the subconscious, it attacks consciousness, like your awareness of yourself, and it gives people an excuse to delve into those horrible, disgusting behaviours, because they don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
They just,
exactly,
it takes away that governor. We know all the science behind this.
Yeah.
We know it from our personal experiences. So why do we keep doing it? Why do men keep doing it? Well, it's because they don't have a higher purpose.
Right.
They haven't tapped in. This is my opinion. They
Yeah.
haven't actually tapped into their purpose for being here. Because once you have a defined purpose of what you're actually here for, the unnecessary melts away.
Yeah.
Once you have those simple values, strong, sober, secure,
Yeah.
well, you know, drinking, porn, and being lazy are not an option. They're in direct conflict with those values.
Yeah.
So those are two things, man. Pornography and drinking are two massive things that men are dealing with.
Yeah, I get that. I know, because I used to travel full time in a bus and hooked up with, you know, some fears and stuff like that, and huge drinking culture. And I know, you know, because I was only working 2 days a week, and then I had the rest of the week off, any excuse, get up, crack a bottle of gin, fire on the beach. But life, I remember it just being a blur. It was just, I'd been tired, unmotivated, severely overweight, very unhealthy, and well, you know, it's a blame. And I know for myself that when I suddenly realised, what the heck am I doing? Put the bottle down. Life just changed. It was amazing. Motivation, lost a lot of weight, you know, and just the difference is just having the clear mind for a start, getting more done through the day, actually looking forward to waking up and getting out of bed in the morning. You know, it makes a huge difference. So yeah.
What inspired that choice?
Well, I was actually just about to ask you the same. What inspired that choice? Well, for me, it was a broken marriage. I lost my marriage, had to drive away from my kids, and I was heartbroken. And I remember just getting in my bus and taking off down the South Island to kind of heal and to get my head right. And actually, the funny thing is I started talking to another woman, and she liked her red wine, and I remember one night I hadn't drunk anything, and I was talking to this woman on the phone, and she had been drinking, and I just remember thinking, what the heck is this? What is this conversation about? It's not making sense. We're just talking rubbish, you know. And from that day, for some reason, it's just like the penny dropped, and I thought, life is so much better sober. Life makes so much more sense. There's so much more quality in your relationships and your friendships, like you say, and finding purpose. So for me, it was actually a conversation with a woman who had been drinking, and I was actually sober that time round.
Wow.
And I just remember the conversation being so pointless, you know. And I don't know if I should admit to that, but you know, and that's what it was. And I think too, just wanting to get healed from the broken relationship, from my marriage, losing my marriage, and just thought, you know, I need to get my shit together. Life is not going in the right direction. So
respect.
So I think that was it for me. It was good, and it's been, you know, I think a sober life has been definitely the right move, you know. So what about yourself? What was the catalyst?
Yeah, mine was similar. Birthed from a dysfunctional relationship, but like there were many times in my life that I had this whisper that I needed to stop drinking. Like many times, like from a young age, and I always pushed that down. I never listened to it. I always got swept away with the crowd, and I went through a phase because when I was at university, I would have one beer and I would feel like I'd had about 8. I can't remember the name. Andrew Huberman talks about it because everyone has a slightly different way that their body metabolises alcohol. Right. Like some people can just drink 24 beers and it's like they haven't even drunk anything. And other people have one and they feel completely hammered. So there was that whisper within me because I was always interested in being different. You know, I liked to be different, to be not following the crowd, but then I was also quite insecure and did follow the crowd. Right. So I had this conflicting thing in me, and it wasn't until about 4 years ago when I was in a relationship with a person, a woman who was like very addicted to alcohol and other substances, and I wanted them to get sober. And I was like far out, like I was like looking at how much damage that was doing. And I was also involved with a group of people that I would only get invited to things when it was drinking.
Right.
It was like the only acceptable version of myself was the drunk lunatic that was just out of control, getting as wasted as he could. They only wanted that person around when they were drinking. So I didn't have many friendships where I was connected with people doing positive things, like working towards. I was in bands. I was running a couple of bands at the time. And doing lots of rehearsing and things like that, but I was doing a lot of drinking in my own time as well, alone, which was really screwing me up with feeling down and then chasing it with more drinks. But being in that relationship, I was just getting into meditation, and I'd committed to myself because I'd dabbled in meditation on and off for years, and I'd read about it and heard it was amazing, and then I'd try it and get bored with it, and then I'd sort of go back and try a little bit, and then a couple of times I had these amazing experiences, but then I never went back to it. I just got sucked into my old patterns, and then in this particular relationship the mirror became really apparent. What I mean by that is I was seeing myself in this person. I was like, this is what I'm doing to myself. And one real wake up moment was like when I went to this party, this gathering, and this person said, this is my family. They were telling me, this is my family. And I looked around the room, because that person had quite a small family, but I looked around the room at this gathering, this social gathering, and everyone was just off their head. And I thought, and I was like, I had this moment where I was like, wow, she's actually talking about the substance. The substance is her family. This liquid, this alcohol is that person's family. That's where they're getting love from. That's where they're finding acceptance. It's not actually the people. It's friendships with substance. Not friendships of substance. Or however you want. It's a bit of a wordplay. You know what I mean, right? Like, so that just was like really blew me to pieces, because it made me realise that's what I'd done. I had sought out this deep, intimate relationship with alcohol to be my codependent lover. Alcohol was my codependent lover that took me into these deep wallows, and I would use the alcohol to really wallow in pain and to just like go deeper and deeper into that pain. And it doesn't help.
No, it
doesn't help. It doesn't.
No, that's for sure.
It doesn't get any better.
It
wouldn't get any better. It wouldn't get any better. So I just had this massive awakening, and leading up to that time, as I said, I was starting to practice meditation regularly, and I wanted to do a year. Like, I always like measuring things in 1 year, because it feels like quite a long time, but it feels like a really good commitment. So I wanted to do 1 year of meditating every day, and I would find that even if I would have 2 beers in a night, the next morning I'd just go, I can't be bothered. Like, it would give me that fuzz. It would just make me feel bloated. I was trying to clean up my diet at the same time. So, and then as I meditated, that started to help me build awareness of going like, oh shoot, this is really compromising me. The drinking, combined with that awakening of being involved with a person who was severely compromised and addicted to alcohol, I realised that I had the mirror. Like, this is what I use all the time with my clients and my guys on my courses and programs. Everything's a mirror. Like, everything is a mirror. Anyone we meet, if we're judging something about them, that's the world, God, the universe showing us our blind spot, showing us what we need ourselves to work on. So the more I lean into that, the more life gets clearer on what I need to do.
That's awesome.
Man. So it's been coming up 4 years. I'm going to be celebrating 4 years sober in November.
That's awesome.
I'm so excited about that. I find that more exciting than my birthday. Not about 3.5 years porn free. I gave up porn 6 months after I stopped drinking. And at the same time I gave up drinking, I stopped doing drugs. I was smoking marijuana. And then with the drinking, I was often taking harder drugs, putting things up my nose, with just getting pulled into that, losing complete control and getting pulled into those deeper layers of corruption, I would call it, looking for the answers.
Awesome. I know, so like for myself, when I stopped drinking like a fish and started making some changes to life, I remember I'd take a lot of time to just go and sit and be with myself, and I remember that being a very uncomfortable period of time, just trying to find my own peace within myself with a sober mind, starting to face my shortcomings, my insecurities, so I think I saw on your website that you just kind of decided to go cold turkey and throw yourself into it. Because if guys are looking at this, look, I know, and you yourself know, that when you're in that kind of trap, or you're in that cycle of life, it's habitual, and it can be quite hard to, look, the number of times I've had conversations with men, I'm giving up the bottle, I'm giving up this, I'm giving up that, and then a couple of days later they'll turn up at your house with some beers and, away we go, or whatever. So how do you get to that place? How do you find that place? Or is there a catalyst, or does it take some form of catalyst to get you to that place, or can men make that decision and just prepare? You run courses on this sort of stuff. What would be your advice to somebody who's just been going round and round in a cycle and just can't find that way out?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm super hardline when it comes to this. Like, there's only one way to quit drinking, and that's to quit drinking. So there's obviously multiple things you can do. Habit replacement is a big one. Like, all my guys and women on my courses are meditating every day. That's compulsory. That, because if you don't raise your awareness, you can't see where you're getting caught. So the problem with a lot of people with the drinking is they're not aware, or they don't want to tap into that pain, like what you just talked about, going down at the beach, sitting alone and going, far out, this is who I've become. Like, that happened to me too. I'm sitting there going, fuck, I'm actually a loser. Like, who wants to feel like that? Man, that's heavy to realise that you've gotten so far along in life and all you've done is waste 25 years on the piss. Like, that's a rite of passage that everyone has to go through. I think one of the biggest things that I'm really big on is you've got to change who you're around. Like, you can't keep going to these same gatherings, these social gatherings, parties or whatever, and think you're going to get sober, because you talked about it earlier, the subconscious. A lot of our friendships are built on subconscious behaviour, like shared behaviours, shared beliefs, and we're not aware of what those are. And for me, my friendships were built on these subconscious attachments to alcoholism, to having substance, to getting mangled up, to escaping our traumas. No one was aware of that. Some people might have been, a little bit, but when you don't have a level of awareness, you can't intervene with yourself when you're about to go to the bottle store. If you don't have awareness, you just go into freaking autopilot. So another simple tool I love is, like, driving. When you drive anywhere, force yourself to go a different way. Even if it takes you a bit longer, you then have to start thinking, because I've coached guys and they were going sober, they were going great. This one particular story, a guy went to go fishing with his dad, and then he was just like, fuck! He was 6 beers deep. He didn't even realise. He went and spent time with a person that shared this unconscious pattern. So he wasn't able to build his awareness to understand that was going to happen. So for anyone getting sober, you have to go through this lonely period, I do believe personally, because often our alcohol is attached with groups, with behaviours, and when people get in a group, they all start gravitating to the same thing. It's a real thing, man. Like, when you start getting aware of this, like, you think of a rugby team. If they're not all focused on winning, they'll lose the frickin' game. But when you get a really good team that's coached and led, they're like a unit. And this is what's happening with the drinking. You get caught up in a team, right? You're in a team, and you're all really good at getting fucked up and escaping from your problems and feeling great. And you get led by someone. There's often 2 or 3 ringleaders in there that are making that happen. So you have to get away from that. But then also there's a lot of people out there drinking alone. They're drinking alone. I did that. I experienced that. Drinking alone. And what you've got to do with that is you've got to create your own full immersion environment for healing. So you've got to remove any pages that you follow on social media that are to do with alcohol. Like anyone that I see on social media, this happened to me recently, this guy that runs a positive page, he hadn't been drinking since last year, and I thought, fuck, this is awesome. This guy's super positive. He wasn't outright sober, but he just hadn't drunk, and then he did a dry July or why July, drinking water for July, not drinking, and then at the end of it he decided that he was going to get ripped on and pissed on this occasion, and I thought, nah, unfollow. Like, that's how ruthless you have to be. You have to be so ruthless to cut off these avenues that are going to fluster up that subconscious into drinking. You have to be fucking ruthless. Like, you really do. And that may mean trespassing yourself from bottle stores. If someone's round and round the merry-go-round and can't do it, you might have to trespass yourself from bottle stores. But that's a kind of a negative approach. Not everyone would need that. You have to make a choice. You have to understand that you as a person are actually in control of everything you've ever done. And that's a big burden to carry. Not many people want to actually understand that, because that's, like you say, it's like they're down on the beach going, I've done this. I've done this. I was the one that was choosing to do this all the time. I was the one that chose to go and spend money on a dozen beers instead of getting my kids lunches or what, people are doing that all the time. So the meditation practice is absolutely key. If you're trying to give up the bottle and you can't, you keep fucking around, and you need to start focusing on what your purpose is and have some simple daily non-negotiables, like waking up at a set time. Waking up at a set time, that sounds really simple. That's an effective tool. Can you honour your own commitment? Because the thing with alcoholics and addicts is we keep betraying ourselves. I've been in that position, lying awake at night. This is the last time. Tomorrow, this is the last time. Well, okay, if that's the case, then you've got to start the day with purpose. Wake up at a set time. And you have to coach yourself, like you said with the cold shower. I love that. Hey, subconscious, I'm about to turn the cold shower on. I know it's going to feel like a shock, but this is good for you, brother. This is going to be healthy. This is going to help you build your resilience. You literally have to talk to yourself like that at night. Going, this is the last time, Brother Stone. You are sober. You're a savage. You're so committed. You're dedicated. Your purpose is to get up tomorrow at that time you said. You're going to get up. You're going to drink some water. You write yourself a freaking plan. Because all these guys, this is the thing, most of these guys and women out there, they're functioning alcoholics. They're turning up to jobs, right? They're turning up for their kids. They're putting food on the table. So if you can turn up for a job, you can stop drinking. Right? So you pivot. You use that same mindset. This is the case for a lot of people. They'll turn up to a job day in, day out, day in, day out. Right? They'll never drink on the job. They'll never drink on the job because somehow they hold that job up on a frickin' pedestal. So if you put your sobriety up to that same level, you pivot and you use that, you take a copy and paste of that mindset for the job, and then realise sobriety is your number one job now. It's on the same level as your job. And you have to, and there's no other option. Because so many people are like that with work. They'll do everything and anything for work. They'll overwork, they'll be there on time day in, day out, and then in their own time they completely mangle their own body with alcohol and completely underwrite their own commitment to themselves. So that's another big one, is like turning up for your sobriety like you would a job. And then obviously when you're on a program with me, you've got key things that you're checking in with daily. And go and get some coaching, make a freaking commitment. I make a commitment, because alcoholics and addicts are actually some of the most dedicated people in the world.
Yeah.
They will get that fixed no matter what.
Yeah.
They will get that bottle. They've got no money, but somehow they end up getting this freaking 6-pack.
Yeah.
So when you understand that's a superpower, that level of commitment's a superpower, you can shift it towards food.
Yeah.
Being that dedicated, precise about food, because you know, okay, I need these 6 beers and this half bottle of Jack Daniels I've got, and I'm going to have it. I know that's the exact amount I need to have a good night, to just get my buzz on, not get too wasted and feel okay.
Yeah.
So you turn that skill towards your kite, towards your food, and go, I need to have this X, Y, and Z to feel healthy, nourished, and focused.
Yeah.
To summarise, cold turkey is the only way out. It is the only way out. You can't just cut down to 2 or 3. People with a frickin' drinking problem, you know, like deep within you, you know, that's what I went through for years. I ignored that internal voice. So it's waking up to that internal voice and actually spending time alone, like you said, bro. I'm in full support of that. You know, you're going to have to spend some time and some pain, because most of us that had a drinking problem, we were escaping how we were actually feeling. You know, that was the case for me. It's the case for a lot of people that are living in that pain. They keep escaping for it. That pain's never going to disappear until you actually address it without the substance, without escaping from your conscious awareness. So harnessing your own awareness. Now I'll just look back again, because that simple tip of driving to a shop a different way. And then as you're going, you have to pay more attention. So then you can start paying attention to your thinking. Coaching yourself outside the supermarket. I am sober. I'm one of the best people in the world at being sober. Like, I do that all the time. I still do that now.
That's cool. Another one that I do is create associations. So kind of associate the pain of a hangover the following day versus a memory of waking up sober and enjoying the day and the experience, and just creating those associations in your mind. And just reminding yourself of, if I do this, I'm going to feel like this tomorrow. I'm not going to accomplish anything. I'm not going to be able to sit here and interview the stone thrower, or create Men's Hub, or start a podcast, and just creating that sort of reward, almost a reward situation of, because I chose not to drink, I'm up today sitting next to a beach, it's raining, but it's just nice being outside, hanging out with you,
awesome.
And creating those associations, but more so creating the association of the pain of, I guess, the consequences of, those actions that we've taken, or those decisions that we've made. So when you did give up drinking, you say, look, you removed yourself from certain people and stuff like that. Did you get any backlash from friends? Did you cop any flack from friends or family? Or
not so much the friend circle, because part of my journey to getting sober was like going on extreme rants on social media. Talking about my experiences. That was the way that I processed how I was feeling, because I was feeling angry, man. I was feeling angry, I was feeling let down by a lot of people, mainly myself. So all of those rants on some of my older content, that's actually me talking to myself, speaking myself through this experience. Like when I'm saying, you've got to fucking wake up on time, you've got to do this, work out every day. That's me reminding myself what I had to do to stay committed. So once I started going online, well, no one wants that guy around. People that are drinking, they don't want to have some lunatic that's raving about sobriety. They don't want that person around. I had the last couple of events that I went to, social gatherings, really opened my eyes about how dysfunctional my life had become. I went to a gathering where people were drinking heavily, my children were there, people were taking drugs, heavy use of drugs, and there was children there, and then one guy that I was speaking to there, he'd been drinking all day, all day, extremely proud of it, and then he went to drive home and no one better than I lived. And so I left my kids at this gathering to drive him home. So I left my kids at a gathering of all these people high on drugs, completely wasted, just to save some other a-hole. And I thought, what am I doing? Like, what am I actually doing? You know, like this, I've chosen to be here. Yeah, I'm sober.
Yeah.
But I'm putting my kids in this environment where this is normalised. All these people are effed up, mangling themselves, out of control. That's when bad things happen to kids and those things. So that was a major wake-up call for me, bro.
Right.
There wasn't as much backlash. I just stopped going. I just stopped going, and the phone stopped ringing. People don't invite me to events, mainly because they know I'm a lunatic about sobriety. And that's good for me.
Absolutely.
I have had family members still offer me drinks, which I kind of find irritating. But I realise that that's them still coming to terms with their own issue. It's actually got nothing to me, nothing to do with me. Like if I start feeling like that's a reflection on me, it's actually they're still struggling with their own addiction. You know. So if I go to a gathering and alcohol comes out, I'm out of there. I don't care. If it's a wedding, whatever. I'm just not gonna. I don't want to be around it. I've done my time. I view it like this. I've done a 25-year research project on alcoholism. I've got some good results. I've got a good synopsis of what that means. So I know for me, I just don't want to be around it because I'm a person. I'll get caught up in feeling responsible for people's choices, like driving someone home who's an adult that can't take responsibility for themselves, compromising my kids. No way. No way, man. That was the last straw for me. So I do now and then on social media. Some of the people will tell me everything in moderation, but I don't buy into that statement anymore. I used to use that statement all the time. Everything in moderation. Well, no, we don't actually want everything. Everything means including bad, horrible behaviours. We don't want to have that in our lives. So I'm just a hardliner when it comes to that. You know.
Thank you, brother. It's been a real pleasure.
My pleasure, bro.
Awesome.